Welcome to Get to Know with me, Morgan Williams. I've been in the creative industry for over a decade and meet people in different roles every day. But here's my secret. I don't always know what it is they actually do. So here I am getting to know. Each week, I sit down with industry insiders, learning what it is they actually do all day long. Whether you're trying to break into the industry, feeling a little bit lost, or just plain curious, Get to Know is here to dish out creative career insights and advice. So let's dive right into this episode. This week, I get to know Theo McDermott, the Model Club's head booker. I met Theo on my last day at ASOS, but his bubbly personality left a lasting impression. Today, he tells me everything about how he was scouted as a model, which led him to his first ever agency job. The differences between agency-side and client-side model booking when he worked for ASOS, how scouting really works, and his latest role within the Model Club. This one's jam-packed of information you won't want to miss. So, thanks Theo, thanks for joining me. Really good to have you on.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So, you are the head booker of the Model Club.
Yes.
But to start off, I want to take it right back. Because did you want to go into model booking or modelling, or how did you get that start in the industry?
We're going to bring it all the way back. When I was a kid, I never really fully knew what I wanted to do. But I was obsessed with the industry and modelling and fashion and clothes and hair and makeup. When I was younger, I started my own hair company and I was doing my friend's hair and stuff like that. And I just loved the beauty of finishing products. But I never really knew what I wanted to do. I was quite tall. Well, I was quite tall. I am quite tall. I'm 6'8", so I've always been really tall. And everyone's always told me to get into modelling. Obviously, it's a lovely compliment. But for me, I never really was that interested in actually modelling. That being said, when I was 17, I got scouted by an agency. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to be a model. This is going to be so fun. But something in me was telling me, it's not really for me. I love seeing it all happen, watching it all. I'm a very confident person, but something in me was I just don't think this is really going to work for me, even though I really do want to be involved. And then I went to the casting. It was for an agency in Bristol, because that's where I'm from originally. And I went to the casting and it was fun. It was cute. I had a good time. But yeah, like I said, something in me just didn't really... I wasn't gasping to be a model. Mm-hmm. And the lady who interviewed me, her name's Yasmin, I wasn't expecting someone that looked like her to be casting me. I thought it was going to be full of older people, really strict, I thought the team was going to be quite white and not diverse. And I met her and I was like, she looks like me. She's mixed race. She's my age. She's a couple years older than me. And I was so obsessed with the thought of how she landed this position. I didn't think people like me, people that look like me, or even people my age could be in a position like this. I thought it was years and years of training, and you had to go to university, and you had to study this, and you had to meet this person, or you had to have parents who are rich who could just get you in there and put you in contact with the right person. And I was so confused as to how she got this job. As soon as I left, I called my mum and she was like, oh, how did it go? And I was like, it went really well. Obviously, she wanted me to be a model because every parent wants their kid to be a model. But I was just so intrigued as to how my interviewee, Yasmin, got the position. And then fast forward to a couple hours later on the same day, Yasmin messaged me and basically she let me down pretty lightly and said, we're not taking your model application any further. But actually, I don't think she really said that, but in a roundabout way, she kind of said, this isn't really for you. But she did say that they've got an apprentice booker role available and she thinks I'd be good for the position. And I remember in that moment, I was like, that's so weird that this happened, because I was so intrigued in it, but I didn't know how I could get involved. So I told my mum. At the time I was working a 0-hour contract at a children's nursery. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really want to be there. I just needed something for when I finished school. And I was like, do you know what? Let's just give it a go. I've got nothing else to do. And I'm obviously interested in it somehow. And it'd be fun. So I took the position. And yeah, the rest is pretty much history. I'm sure I'm going to get into the rest a lot later, but that's kind of how I jumped into it. I feel like, if anything, I got quite lucky with my entry into the industry because I feel like Yaz saw something in me because we are similar, and I got that in from obviously being scouted, whereas other people might not have that same in. So obviously my experience is different to a lot of other model bookers, but it's nice to know that you don't have to study anything in particular. You don't have to know this person who knows this person. I think the story of my life is just taking things as they come and following the universe. And that was definitely up there with one of the most important decisions I made.
What do you think it was that that got her to ask you if you were interested in that position? Did you have a chat on the day about model
Well,
booking?
apparently, we always talk about this now because apparently I didn't really speak much, and she thought I was really rude when I came in. And I
Oh
always
wow.
asked, why would you message me and ask me to work with you if you thought I was rude? But I think it was part of, I guess she saw something in me that she has, and she probably see me as kind of a younger version of herself. Um, the team, I say the team was diverse. She was the diversity within the team. So obviously she probably wanted the team to be a bit more diverse. So that's one of the reasons.
Mhm.
And I don't know, we've never really spoke about as to why, but I think we both had this kind of cosmic sounds quite hippie, but like universal emotion that's like, this isn't the last time we're going to meet each other, and this isn't going to be, I don't think the relationship's going to be booker and model and agent. It's going to be something different, but we didn't know how it's going to happen. And yeah, I'm not 100% sure what she's seen in me, but I guess it was just confidence. I was quite confident when I went in there. um and yeah, I feel like an agent needs to be pretty confident, so maybe that's the main thing she saw.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So was that at Gingersnap that you started with them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk me through a day at Gingersnap when you first started? What was your title and what did they get you up to?
I was the apprentice model booker there, and when I started, it was my first ever office job. Before that, I'd worked in retail, and I worked at a trampoline park, a couple of trampoline parks, and then I worked at the children's nursery. So when I walked in for my first day, I was like, everyone's drinking coffees, like they're having 20 coffees a day, and no one speaks to each other, and everyone's just on their laptops, and there's phones going, and this model's coming, and this. It was literally like a whirlwind of emotions. I expected it to be crazy, but I did not expect for the job to be so fast paced. Like, there's a model that's cancelled the job for the next day, so we had to call up models for replacements, and
Yeah.
there's this client shouting at this agent down the phone, and this job's just been confirmed, and this job's just been released. And I was just like, what on earth is going on right now? I'm used to just chatting and having a chit chat, but it was very serious. For my first, I'd say, few months there, I was just kind of doing the admin, so updating models' portfolios and working quite closely with Yasmin as well. She pretty much taught me everything I know from the first day. So yeah, doing models' portfolios, onboarding new models, casting models when they came in from scouts, or just even models that we already had in the books that I'd usually meet and greet. It was kind of like a receptionist role. So you'd meet the models when they walk in, but then pass them on to the correct agent, answering the phone. I remember the phone would just go off so much at Gingersnap. I was just like, how is there this many people who want this many models. I think it's working in an agency like Gingersnap, which they represent so many models and have loads of different clients, is so different from any other agency that I've worked in. Because Gingersnap are non-exclusive, so they have a lot of commercial models. So the phones go in quite a lot, and there's a lot of models that they represent, whereas all the other agencies I've worked for have been exclusively signed models. So there's a smaller pool of models. That are more concentrated development, whereas there it was like models calling up, clients calling up, and I was answering the phone and passing them on to the correct booker. And I'm like, people were just asking me questions on the phone of how much does this cost and can I get this model for this day? And I was literally like, guys, I have no idea what's going on. And at the same time, I was doing my apprenticeship as well. So my apprenticeship was in business administration, but it was level 2. So it was just so easy that it was hard. It was like how to write an email and do an essay on how to answer the phone correctly and like how to use the printer and stuff like that. And I was like, obviously, I think they needed to put me down for a course, but it was just so easy that I just didn't want to do it. But yeah, the apprenticeship just for me was just a way of just, okay, let me just lay my eggs here and hopefully they'll hatch and I can progress in the agency some more.
Yeah. So you were involved in castings from kind of the get-go.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through like how a casting works from a model booker side? Because I have never been on that side. I know it from like a photographer side, but what is it that you're doing on the casting as a booker?
So there's a few different casting calls that come in. A lot of them would be briefs from clients. So exact, measurements, what the client's looking for within their look, if they're looking for diverse options, if they're looking for somebody with red hair, an afro, if they're looking for someone with short hair, if they're looking for a guy with a 6-pack, they'll let us know what they're looking for, what the brand is, what the rate is for the model. And then at Gingersnap, because we represented so many models, we would always have somebody to put forward to the client. We'd sift through and get a package together and put them forward. Whereas I feel like as my career developed and I started working for exclusive agencies, you have a model that's specifically scouted for that client and you send them to them, they cast them, they fit them, they work, and then it's just regular work. Whereas commercial agencies like Gingersnap, when I first started, I got trained in, we've got loads of models, we've got this pool of models for this client, we've got this pool of models for this brief, we've got this, we've got commercial, we've got editorial, we've got older, we've got younger, we've got kids, we've got families, we've got couples. There was just so many different segments. So if a brief come in, and briefs did regularly come in, we'd always have a model to put forward. Whereas I feel like as I developed, my eye for certain clients would have sharpened to, okay, I've scouted this model, or I've got this model from this agency. This model will be perfect for this brand. So let's take them on, let's develop them in that direction. Let's get them tested to fit that brand. Let's get them, change their look slightly. Let's cut their hair. Let's dye their hair for it to fit that client. And then it would be a regular work with that client or a campaign with that client. Whereas at commercial agencies like Gingersnap, it'll be if and when the briefs come in and putting that pool of models forward for that brief, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely made sense. Is it, so obviously I've seen America's Next Top Model, and like the episodes where they would change up the looks was obviously one of the best episodes. But you just mentioned about kind of maybe changing their look up to suit a particular brand. What's that actually like? I'm sure it's not as extreme as America's Next Top Model.
Absolutely not as extreme as America's Next Top Model. I don't, with scouting and model casting, with my eye, I find a beauty in just the everyday person. If a model's come to me and that this is their current hair and, they've got long curly hair, or they've got long straight hair, or if a boy's got a high top, I rarely will ask them to change their look, because I think what's beautiful about campaigns and e-com is looking at people who you would see on the street and who do walk past, and just somebody that's that person, so they know what best fits them. But in some cases, there might be somebody who's been on the books for a year and they haven't picked up a single job and there's just something missing. Like a girl, you might need to dye their hair a crazy color, or say if a I had a boy last year who just wasn't picking up anything, and he's beautiful, and I know he's beautiful. He loved modeling, he's really keen to work, but there was just something missing. So we was just like, let's just dye your hair bright pink. Let's just do something fun, and get you back out there. And it refreshes the clients as well. So it's changing their look from maybe like a commercial eco model for your ASOSs, your JDs, your foot asylums, to somebody who's a bit more crazy for like Jaded London or Weekday, or just it's a whole different client pool with change of look, but it's definitely not as dramatic as America's Next Top Model, where every single model needs to change their look. I rarely would ask someone to change their look. I'd maybe ask if they want to, or they've ever tried anything else, or I might have a idea of something in my head and put it to the model, and if I'm not up for it, that's absolutely fine. I'll obviously communicate. It might affect your work if you don't, but it's your look and it's absolutely fine. But yeah, in general, I think I just take models as they come and kind of work their direction around their look, rather than trying to fit them into a box that they don't feel that quite fits them.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a trend at the moment as well of just authenticity in general. So it's quite nice to keep that person's authentic look, because it feels authentic for them. So they'll probably do a better job because they feel more comfortable as themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in this day and age as well, with social media, when these models are getting booked for campaigns, a lot of people, there's so many people, a lot of our models have a big following. So if you are seeing someone on a campaign, they've got a whole different look and they're doing like a rock star impression, and then you go into their social media and they're just an innocent, that's not them at all. It just doesn't translate, because people want to see real people, and like you said, authenticity is really important.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So obviously you've moved on from Gingersnap. Was that when you moved to London?
Yes, I moved. Oh my God, I can't remember what year it was now. I moved to London in 2020 after the pandemic. Ew, I hate that word. I hate to, but it just seems like a lifetime ago. At that point, fast forward, I've obviously finished my apprenticeship. I've moved up to model booker, and then I worked on the men's main board as the agent there. And I was kind of getting a bit bored of Bristol. I feel like I'm not going to say small town. I personally think Bristol's a big town, but a lot of people think it's a small town. But a lot of small town people who work in fashion, there's kind of a limit that you get to, whereas like I'm doing as much as I can here, but there's not much going on to itch that needs itching. So I decided to myself and move into London. Within the same month I moved, because I'm just that type of person who I just need to, I've got something in my head, I need to go.
Yeah.
And then when I decided I wanted to move, my contact at ASOS emailed and said that she's moving on to a new position. And I was like, that is just so weird. Again, just a universal thing. Obviously, ASOS was one of my regular clients at the time. And who doesn't want to work for a huge brand like ASOS? So I had the contacts for the model booking team, and I just sent my CV. I didn't send it to the recruitment. I didn't send it to who I was supposed to send it to. I just sent it to the whole of the model booking team, model booking at da-da-da-da. So it went to everybody. I'm sure now I'm looking back, I'm just cringing, because I obviously know everybody now, and they was just all probably looking through my CV and just all talking about me. But yeah, I just sent it on and just thought, what's the worst that could happen? Got invited to my interview. At that time, that was my first ever proper interview. To be honest, my one and only ever proper interview. And I had to prepare a presentation and like have a pool of models that I would scout, and it was quite fun for me, to be honest, to get my creativity out in a different way that's not the agency. I didn't realize at the time how different agency to client model booking would be. But I think that doing that presentation, doing the interviews, really made me realize that it's a really different path that I'm going down, and it's the same job role, but a completely different career and a completely different job spec.
Your mindset's had to change, hasn't it? Instead of like providing models to fit lots of different briefs that are coming in from lots of different clients, it's making sure you're always on brief for
Mhm.
that one client and finding the right models to fit the brief.
Yeah. It's like my eye was so wide when I worked at Gingersnap, especially coming from an agency at Gingersnap who have so many models. My eye was so wide that, oh, that person could be good for that client, that person could be good for that client. Let's put them on the board and let's just see who they can pick up. And then going to ASOS when it's like your eye is specifically one brand. Yeah, they have subcategories and different brands within the brand, but the overall model. I remember on my first day, one of the bookers at ASOS told me the key to casting and scouting at ASOS is all the models should be in a line. You should imagine them all in a line and all look completely different. But that same group of people can be in a house party together and still have a good night, which I always stuck onto with like, if I scout somebody, I'd put them next to that person, they wouldn't get along at a house party. It just wouldn't work, which was a big shock for me from going from Gingersnap when you had children who was toddlers, and then you had models who were in their late 60s doing timeless campaigns. And I'm like, okay, now we've got to whittle it right down. So it's a completely different job, but it was so helpful to my casting and my eye and scouting. It really helped me develop in a way that I think a lot of model bookers who are agency side would benefit from being in a role that's client side to really understand what the client goes through, because being agency side, all you have to do is you're emailing clients all day, whereas being client side, you're not only emailing the agents, but you've also got communication from in-house. So you've got the production contacting you, you've got hair and makeup contacting you, you've got your boss contacting you saying about a meeting, you've got people from all different departments, from buying, marketing, all contacting you, and then you've got the agents as well. I think it teaches you to kind of take a step back. If they need some help, offer them help, and just get them some beautiful models and present them the models, really.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting how different it is.
Yeah.
So what's a day in the life of ASOS model booking look like?
It's kind of hectic. I'm not gonna lie. On my first day, I was like, I say this. I've literally said the same thing when I said about a day in the life of at Gingersnap. But I just can't. I started work so early, and I always remember this. It was my first ever job in London, so I didn't really take in consideration the travel time. And I would be in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning to sign in all the models. Obviously, I was a junior model booker when I was at ASOS, so our role was very model facing, rather than agency facing and communicating with the other departments. It was very heavy on the model welfare. So we'd start at 8, models call time would be 8:30, and they check in with us. We'd give them their lunch cards. They can be fed. We'd take them over to hair and makeup. If it was a new model that hadn't shot with ASOS before, we'd give them a tour of the whole place. But the good thing about ASOS is a lot of the models are returning models. So a lot of them just know what to do. And it's kind of like they turn into colleagues rather than just models that have been scouted. It's models that are there regularly, especially like your unrec models who are doing 4 days a week, who for them they are just a colleague. They're coming in to check into work. It was super easy with them. They know exactly what to do, where to go. It'd be like clockwork. But then it was the newer models who have never been there before, who were just so excited to be there. And it was like a day out for them. It wasn't work. It was like, we'll take you here and we'll take you there and do this. But I think obviously ASOS has been around for such a long time. And the way they have it down to the precise millisecond of everything there is just like, I was so surprised at how amazing it is. Like, if I was a model coming into that, it would literally be like, it's obviously a dream brand for a lot of models to work with. But I think even when they get there as well, it's even more like, wow, they've really got their stuff together. Like, they know exactly what they're doing, where they're doing it. You've got this point of contact for the day if you've got any concerns. This is your team. You've got your own hairstylist, you've got your own makeup artist, you've got your own photographer, you've got your own producer, you've got your own stylist. It's literally like clockwork. Going from a small agency and there being like no spreadsheets or doing this in this way, and then going to ASOS and then like, there's a spreadsheet for everything and this needs to be here and this needs to be organized and this person needs to put out this form. It was like, wow. And it all just works. Then you look at the website and it's like, damn, all of that behind the scenes you would just never know.
No, you literally don't know how much goes in to ecom photography. I think it's insane when I look back at it now, but
Yeah.
do you know what? I've actually interviewed a couple of other people from ASOS for this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's sort of said the same thing. Like, just working there has really like opened everyone's eyes to how much work goes into these things. And like, I would definitely recommend anyone try and work at ASOS or another similar brand, because like you've just got to be so resilient there, don't you? And like everything's changing all the time.
Yeah.
Everything is tracked to a T. Like you said, everything's worked out to a millisecond.
And if you're not keeping up, you're fall behind. And
Yeah.
then I'd literally be like in the bathroom, I'm like, right, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I've got this to do. And then I'm like, we're literally taking pictures of clothes, right? But when you're in it, you're just so in it and in it deep, and you care so much about the finished product that you just give it your all, really. And everyone else does as well.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned unrec models, sorry. How do you decide who is a good rec model and who is a good unrec model?
That is such a good question. I feel like a lot of unrec models get really down and defensive when they're casted for unrec, but if anything, it is factually harder to be casted for unrec than it is rec. Your measurements need to be on top form. This portion of your face, it's like from the nose below, needs you need to be able to you want to be able to know who the model is, what their story is, just from this. And none of the rec models could do what the unrec models can do. And their movement, you have to put so much more effort into your movement because you're still trying to tell a story, but you can't have any facials. So an unrec model, I think everyone will be casted for rec when they come in to cast at ASOS, unless we were really missing unrec swim or unrec menswear. Everyone will be casted for rec. And then once they're casted, if the clothes, we'll try them on with jeans, we'll try them on with a top, and if the clothes fit good, then we'll look at them for unrec. So we'll crop it to an unrec photo. And if you get in with unrec at ASOS, it's just regular work. It's like I said, it's like your colleague. You're just checking. You don't have to worry about getting your full face of makeup done. It's pretty simple. I think the unrec lifestyle, I would love to be an unrec model. It just seems like the best job ever. Like, you don't have to worry about slips of your face when you're scrolling through the website. Every picture of you looks good. But it's, very measurement specific, movement specific as well. I think rec models can be trained in their movement, but I think if an unrec model's not getting there, it's just not going to work because it's quite literally your body. It's not your face. Your face can't carry it. But it's just, I think that's the main thing is measurements and fitting in within. It was denim that was very important for the unrec. If you can fit in a denim and your ankles aren't showing, it was perfect. One of the jobs of a junior booker is we had to go around to all the models and measure their inseam and just go around to every single studio like every day. And I remember retail changed the measurements at some points for it was when ASOS design was just coming in. Maybe not coming in, but I think that's when they decided to shoot it in a separate pool. They changed the inseam measurements. We had to go around to every studio and was measuring everyone. And every single model was like, "Is everything okay?" Like they was getting so concerned. Like, "Why are you measuring me? Like, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm not gaining any weight. I've not lost any weight." I'm like, "Relax. It's just your inseam. It's just for denim." But if your measurements were on point, then that's good for unrec.
That's so interesting because like I work with unrec models now. Totally agree on the measurement thing. That's got to be nailed. But I actually don't think about like the inseam stuff. To be honest, what kind of sells it for me is all about like the jawline. Does your jawline look good in a photo that doesn't have the top half of your head in?
Yeah, exactly. And your lips have to be great. And you've got to be expressive, but just a slight expression, not too much.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just give them a little bit of what you've got going on, not the whole story. But yeah, being an unranked model's hard. You've got to really keep your measurements up to date. You've got to be there. But you know, they're getting paid for it. It's their job. So
Exactly. Okay, so how long were you at ASOS for in the end? Because I met you on my actual last
last
day.
I remember it was my first time in the Leavesden studios actually,
Mhm.
and I was popping champagne and prosecco, and I was like, "What on earth is going on? Do you do this every?" And then I found out that it was your last day, and I was like, "Hi and bye."
I know, it was so random, but no, it was nice because obviously that was a new studio, not much of the rest of the like London teams sort of came out and visited. So I
Yeah,
remember that day though, there was quite a lot of people there. So it's really nice. And obviously
It's-
you're very loud and confident as well. So it was like a nice energy to have in the
yeah.
studio.
Everyone at the Leavesden office is lovely. It's like a family. I feel like it's very everyone's. I feel like at the GLH studios, it's quite everyone's quite spread out because it's so
Mm,
big.
yeah.
Everyone knows everyone. I'm like, this is really cute. This is giving me like my old agency vibes when everyone knows each other and everyone
Oh.
works together. Whereas at GLH, teams would just stick together. I remember when I first started and going from a smaller team, we'd all obviously take our lunch separately. And then when I went to ASOS, and they're like, right, so we sit here for our lunch. And yeah, if you want to go to the canteen, like you just go to the canteen and you just come back here. And like if you want to go out shopping for food, you can come back here. I was like, oh, you all work together all day and you sit together your lunch. And I just thought it was crazy. And then by the end, I was like, just in love with the team and couldn't spend 2 minutes apart from them. Anyway, I'm going off track. I worked for ASOS for just under a year, so I think it was 10 months in total, which doesn't seem like that much, but there it's just a whirlwind, and you see so many different faces. That's another thing which I'm really grateful is the amount of different models you see. It really does widen your fascination to I'm kind of fascinated with like humans in general and like how humans look. And like I personally think that anyone could be a model with the right photographer and the right campaign. I think everyone's beautiful. I think that's what really made me fall in love with the difference in everyone. Like everyone's got a nose, everyone's got a mouth, everyone's got a set of eyes, but
Mhm.
slightly different and it makes us look completely different. It's a real mind boggle. Sometimes it makes me feel a bit alienish because I'm like, we all have the same features. Everyone's got a set of eyebrows, eyes, nose, mouth, but the slight dimensions, a centimeter apart, and the nose being a little bit longer changes your face completely, which was really interesting for me at ASOS because we casted 2 days a week, and each day it would be like 30 models in that day, and it's just seeing all these different people and learning about different backgrounds and cultures and models flying in from Brazil and from South Africa and like wow I think ASOS definitely made me fall in love with the job that a little bit more of that agency side never taught me.
They were a really good bunch there, I think. And like all of the models always look so slick as well. So now you're only there for 10 months.
Yes,
Um, Now you work at the model club. Did you go straight from ASOS to the model club, or did you have somewhere in between?
I worked at another agency in between. The agency is called Phoenix Model Management. They're called Phoenix the agency now,
Yes.
and I made the jump. I was quite close friends with the head booker of Phoenix at the time through ASOS. So I'd always remember her email style would be very upbeat, uplifting. And you know, when you're speaking to somebody every day, is that you form a friendship with these people that you're working together. But to make work that a little bit more fun, you might have a catch up while you're getting options or
Hmm.
casting. And yeah, I just asked her if she's got anything available because I was just itching to get back to agency side again. As much as I loved client side, I just knew that agency was my calling. I'm very driven in the thing I love most about my job is changing people's lives. And as much as you're changing models' lives at ASOS with getting them the job at ASOS, you're not scouting them from the street and then putting them on their first shoot and getting them their first job and then they're walking for Gucci or Burberry. It's a different kind of development. And I really miss that development of, you know, that feeling of achievement and see like that, seeing the model's face or calling the model when they get their first confirmation. There's just nothing like it. So yeah, excited to go about agency, and that was the agency I was closest with at in London. A lot of the bigger agencies, they're lovely agents, but it was just quite daunting going to these big agencies when they've got head of menswear assistant, menswear new faces, menswear image.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I come from Gingersnap when someone just done everything and there was just loads of models and we just all chipped in where we could. So I feel like a smaller agency was definitely the calling for me. Went to Phoenix. I was there for a year and a half. I started as menswear booker and then finished as senior model agent, and it was quite the whirlwind. I learned so much when I was there, and worked quite closely with the director, which helped me a lot with establishing the model club where I'm at now, and just teaching me hints and tips here and there of how to, you know, things to do, things not to do with the agency. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that learning curve, and introduced me to some amazing models and helped me sharpen my eye a little bit and taught me kind of things I want the way I want the industry to go and the way that I don't want things to go, and models that I think should do with more spotlight
Mm-hmm.
in the industry and having that room to push. Whereas I felt like at Phoenix there was a lot of pressure to book and everything else that was going on. So didn't really have much capacity to be scouting and developing, which we've really tried to focus on at the Model Club now.
Yeah, I'd love to chat a bit more about scouting. Like,
Yeah.
how often do you do that, and what does that actually look like? Because I only think I know it from like people going to festivals and then seeing people in the crowds.
Yeah.
But what's it really like from your point of view?
Festivals is a great way of scouting, but every single agency and every single agent is there. Like, you're literally walking around, you see an agent, you're like, hi. You know they're not there for the festival. They're also there to scout as well. So there's a lot of competition at festivals. And when you know who you're looking for, that person, I've had models that have been like scouted 6 times at one festival. And I'm like, okay, maybe we was discussing it just last week actually, and maybe festivals isn't the right direction to go down. Like, obviously we will go and we will scout where we can, but I think our direction is going for, well, first we want more of a younger crowd. We want to develop younger models and, you know, take them on the journey. So we want to do more like events, like parties and like day parties and nights out with like young. I'm acting like I'm 50 years old. I'm not, but I think the younger generation, they're actually not going to all too many festivals these days. A lot of them are just staying inside and going to the odd day party. So that's where we're doing a lot of our scouting this year. Is we're just trying to be. I've got a younger cousin and a younger sister, and I just say to them, "Tell me what's going on,
Yeah.
and tell me what events there is, and we'll just get tickets. And sometimes they'll come with us, and you can come with us. You can have fun, but we'll decide to work." But scouting in general is really fun. It's like this buzz you get, and you see someone walk past, you're like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And it's when we're with the team, and we're like, "Guys, somebody's go over there, somebody's go over there," and you'd be like, "No, you go over there. No, you go over there. You go over there. Okay, I'll go over there. You go over," and it's like your heart is just it's the crazy buzz. Then you're like, "Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt what you got going on, but I just wondered if you ever thought about modelling before." And then sometimes a lot of girls would think that I'm trying to like hit on them. I'm like, "Girl, you've got the wrong end of the stick here. You're barking up the wrong tree. I promise you it's not that." And the same with boys as well. I've scouted a few boys that with their girlfriends, and the girlfriends have really like annoyed with me. I'm like, "Do you not want to see your man win?"
So you haven't asked them, that's why.
Yeah, or when they're in a group and it's like young kids, and you ask one of them, and the rest of them are just looking at you like, wait,
Yeah.
about you. But yeah, it's really fun, and then you invite them into the agency, and they get to meet the team, and they're just, and it's nice to see that. First of all, it's nice to make their day. Being scouted is lovely. It's like must be such a buzz and a great confidence booster, especially for like your curve girls and like your models who don't, like, I feel like editorial models are not very, some of them aren't conventionally attractive, and they don't look like everyone who's going on Love Island, and don't look like, you know, people you're scrolling for Instagram. They're beautiful people. They're like high fashion people. So when you start something like that, it's like, oh my god, They're like, thank you, I really appreciate it. And it makes her day. So I love it. And it's very fun. I sometimes, when I see someone and I'm like not in the mood to speak to them, I'm not in the mood to scout, I'm just like, oh my God, I really could do without this, but put the work hat on. If it's like a weekend or if I'm on holiday and I'm like not trying to think about work, I'm like, I just can't let that person go. Like that is destined for so much. It was Christmas time and I was in Birmingham doing some last minute shopping. I'm just really last minute with Christmas presents is so bad. And I was walking out of the bull ring and I was literally walking past McDonald's and there was beautiful, beautiful girl in McDonald's. And I was like, I need to get home. My parking is up in my car. I'm rushing out of here. I'm sweating. I need to wrap these presents. It's literally Christmas tomorrow. I can't do it. I'm walking away and I'm like, I need to turn around. I need to turn around right now and go get this girl. Walked into McDonald's. It was so busy. It was just so cramped. She was with loads of her friends. That's when she was only 17, so she probably thought, what the hell does this man want from me? And yeah, fast forward, she's doing absolutely amazing. She is loved by everyone. She's working, she's shooting, she's on option with Nike right now for their campaign. Like, and it's nice to know, like, if I never turn around, no, that would never happen. So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the
That's
things.
so nice to have stories like that,
Yeah,
definitely. That's
yeah.
really, really cool. Has anyone ever thought that you're trying to scam them?
Yeah, it's because there's a lot of scam agencies out there. I think and there's not as many nowadays, well, not that I've noticed, but um, back in the day, there was so many scam
Yeah.
agencies that would request like £3,000 to be signed, and it's not even signed to a real agency, and it's ridiculous. But because I know we're not a scam, and I've never worked for a scam agency, and we don't ask for any money and anything like that. The proof's in the pudding. You can believe us or not. We're not
Mhm.
going to be scamming you because there's going to be no money coming out. I think it's the agencies that are scam agencies. I always think how I don't understand how they swoon so many people into doing it because the amount of times I've been asked, "Is it a scam? Is it a scam?" I'm like, surely them same people are asking the scam agencies. And how do they say it's not a scam when it
Yeah.
is? Because you're asking for money.
Yeah. I think that's the thing though, like people not in the industry, I guess, don't know that it
Yeah.
didn't have to give any money up front,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know. But I think there's been a lot of coverage of the scams like in the media now, which is maybe why there's not so many scams anymore. But yeah, no, I remember there was definitely a phase where there were so many scams, weren't there?
So bad. When I was really young, my sister, what I remember one time one of her friends was got a modelling job. It's when we was really young. I was probably at the time like 12. And she was like, Mum, my best friend's got a modelling job and I want to be a model. I remember this literally like it was yesterday. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to be a good big brother. I'm going to get my sister signed and she's going to get a modelling job and she's going to make everyone rich and da da da. And I sent her application. I took a picture of her, sent her application to this model agency. They replied like literally within minutes, like, we would love to meet you. Come to London tomorrow and da da da. And I was like, Mum, look, this is da da da. And she was like, your sister's cute, but she's got a lot of blossoming to do yet. So I think this could be a little bit of a scam. We looked into it further. It was most definitely a scam. And I was like,
Gosh.
maybe not yet. Maybe.
Oh no.
And now she's beautiful and stunning and we've got her on the books and she's like really excited about starting her modelling
Oh,
career.
that's so nice that she's on the books as well.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to like she's quite a nervous person. She used to have really bad anxiety. She's better now, but it's
Mhm.
nice to be able to look after her and nurture her rather than send her to another agency and they want her to do this, this, this.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
she's having a moment, you have your moment, and then you can come back to this. But yeah, in future, we're looking to place her to an agency that can look after her better. Obviously, we're an exclusively diverse agency, and me and my sister got different dads, so my sister's white. So at the minute, we don't really have the right clients for her. But when she's got a bit more confidence, we're going to place her with an agency that can look after her nicely.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
nice. Let's talk about the model club then, because obviously that's where you are now. And you're working with Yasmin again. So
Yeah.
how did that all come about?
Full circle, full circle. Well, throw back to Gingersnap. Obviously, Yaz taught me everything now, and we became really good friends while I was working there. And then when I moved to London, it wasn't just colleagues. We stayed friends and kept in contact and spoke all the time. And even when I was at Gingersnap, we already spoke about her owning her own industry, owning her own agency at some point, because she's amazing at what she does, and she has this type of care and motherly instinct to the models that is really rare to come by in agents, especially directors. I think a lot of directors are very money hungry, but you can just tell from Yaz, she doesn't do it for the money, she does it for the models. So we always thought it was a good idea for her to start her own agency. Obviously, we kept friends and we had this common interest, which is our work as well. Even though we work at different agencies, and even though I was working at ASOS, we could still speak about work and complain about work and celebrate jobs that we've confirmed together and all this kind of stuff. And last year, she started the model club. At the time, I was working at Phoenix. I celebrated with her, helped her where I could. Obviously, I'm at a different agency, and inevitably, it is competition. So I had to keep my distance somehow. But where I could, I would help and offer her support as a friend, and give her advice, even though she didn't need it. She's got a lot more experience than me. But I think from moving to London and being client side, our experience kind of changed from she taught me everything I know to she taught me everything I know about agency side. But there's some things that you learn on your client side that can't be taught when you're on agent side. So we kind of helped each other in that way. She done really well with her first year with our friend Charisse, who's another director with her. They're co-directing the agency, and they've done absolutely amazing in their first year. She's worked with some great clients. She's created a great rapport within the industry and just really hustled. Like the first year was just hustle, grind time. Like every time I see her, it wouldn't even be a catch up. She would just have her laptop out. It was work, 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 work. And then by the time it got to January, she was ready to employ her first agent, which was always going to be me. So I started with her January 1st. I left my previous position in December and we just got working. We got scouting. I think rule number one before I started it, the model club wasn't really, it was more, it didn't really have a location because obviously she lives in Bristol and her previous agency was in Bristol. So a lot of her clients were in Bristol and here, there and everywhere. I think when I started, one of my main goals was to establish the agency within the industry in London. So our first thing to do was just scouting models in London, meeting with clients. We met with everybody. We've had so many dinners and coffees and glasses of wine and lunches, breakfasts. Like my first month, it was just before Christmas, so December to January, we had something on breakfast, we had a meeting with a model, lunch, we had a meeting with a client, then we had a coffee with a client, then we had a dinner with a model, and then we had a drink with a client every single day for what felt like the longest time ever. But we always say we're just going to look back at that time with such fond memories because it was just like me, her, and Charisse in our car, just driving around London, going to this place and pitching it to everybody. And because we're also passionate about not only the industry, the models, but also the model club and where it's going to be, it was just so natural to us. We didn't have to go and lie, and we didn't have to go and pretend that we were somebody better than we was. We just had the proof, like I said before, the proof's in the pudding. We just had to tell them what our plan is, what our goal is, what our experience is, and what we've been doing already. Like, it didn't really need to be pushed. The narrative didn't need to get pushed too much. Every model that's signed with us is as passionate about the agency as we are. We want, obviously, we're exclusively diverse, so we want all of our models to feel like they've got a place to vent to us about the hair. Makeup artist didn't know how to do their hair. We want someone to be able to complain to us because, you know, there wasn't as many people that look like them in this team as they would have hoped for. We want to be that safe place and that safe haven for diverse models to have a space and not just feel like they're not being listened to. So it didn't take much for us to get the models that we did, but the models that we have, we're just super grateful for. We've got an amazing board. The clients that we're working with, we're just so grateful for them to, like, clients have come over me from my previous agencies, and the same with Yaz. We're also working with so many new clients as well that have just come across the model club and found, like, us through social media, or found us through one of our models, and like, the change is beginning. The model club is what we hope to be the change. So that's in the long term, in the long version, what the model club is and how the journey has been so far.
No, it sounds amazing. I think, yeah, like just jumping on board with your friend to help her start this kind of dream that she'd always had
Yeah.
and just getting stuck in and making it all happen is a bit of a nerve-wracking place, I guess, because it's like it's a start-up, really, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you've got to make it work, but it's such an exciting time, I think, to like try and make that work as well.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like well done to you guys for making it work and making it a success that it is.
Thanks. I
No.
think if I came from just straight from ASOS, if I came from a huge agency, I think I would have really struggled. But because both the agencies I've worked with prior to the Model Club have been smaller agencies where we have had to graft, we've had to market, we've had to scout models that specifically fit a brand. It's been an easy transition. I just had to put the gear up a little bit. I was in gear 1 before, maybe I had to put it up to gear 3 or 4 with marketing, and just reminding people we're still here, we're still doing our thing, because a lot of agencies come into fruition. Don't even know if that's the right word. They come into light, and then before you know it, they're gone again, and no one hears about the agency again. And we're just trying to remind people we're still here. We're
Yeah.
definitely here to stay. We've got a bunch of new faces. What have you got in store for us?
How do
Because
you do your marketing? Because I guess that's you guys as well. Like you don't have a team for marketing.
yeah, we do. I see this TikTok the other day, and it was like introducing you to the team, and it was like head of marketing. And it was the same person, and the person put on a different outfit, and it was like head of social media, and then it was like head of booking. And I was like, that's literally us, because we just do our fingers in every single pie. Marketing uh, it's like, remember poking on Facebook, and you just like you send people
Yeah.
a poke. That's literally what it's like. Like, we've got this person. Do you like them? If you don't, let us know feedback so we can find someone who does like you. When we scout a new model, we've got a mail list. It goes out to everybody. When we started in January, we sent out loads of New Year's cards to the clients that we're working with all of our models on the cards. Just trying to think of new and innovative ways to remind people that we're there. And I think if we had a board of models who weren't the best or weren't right for the clients that we're marketing to, it probably wouldn't work. But because our board is so strong, we're sending the models and they're getting picked. It's not like we're sending the models and we're not hearing anything back. Some of the clients, we might have to work on a few scouts and develop a few models. But in general, the proofs. Oh my god, I keep saying the proofs in the pudding. I think that's my go-to phrase. In general, the proof is in the pudding. You're not. I'm gonna send you these models, and you're probably gonna want to use some of them because they're just
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. And diversity is key. Like, we'll get briefs through from, obviously there's clients have mailing lists, and we'll get briefs through, and it might be a brief that's not got anyone, they're not calling for anyone that we've got, so it's a not diverse shoot. But I'll still suggest models if you want to change your mind and shoot with an Asian model for this instead of what you're looking for, just to give them the option, because that's the whole reason behind the model club is we're pushing to see more diversity in our billboards, on our buses, social media, and the change is most definitely happening. Like, it actually makes me emotional sometimes when I see, like, when I'm in the shop and I'm just going through a magazine, and I'm like, every single page is people of color. Every single page is a diverse model or a diverse story or a celebrity of color, and it's amazing to see. And that's pretty much why Yasmin started the Model Club, is to have more moments like that, where it's like representation for the younger children. I want my kids to look at the world and see themselves back. Whereas, back 30 years, it would be fully Caucasian models within the magazine.
Yeah. I definitely think there is a change. Like even in like Fennec, my work,
Yeah.
we are really consciously making sure that every model that we use is actually quite different from each other, so
Yeah,
that the website isn't just
the same.
exactly the same copy paste across everything. You
Yeah,
know, it's like, I think it's really important that you do represent all of your customers on the website, and I think it is happening across like all of the brands as well. You definitely see it a lot more. So yeah, I think it's really, really good what you're doing, definitely.
thank you. We're definitely trying. It's been fun. It's been a journey. It's also been fun navigating Yasby, my boss, again.
Yeah.
Before she was my head booker, and now she's actually like my boss and director, and like everything goes through her. And I'm like, this is really weird. Like we're having one-to-ones, and I'm like, so we having a sleepover tonight, or we just like it's the weirdest relationship, but we're navigating it well. And I think because we both trust each other, we both have the same vision, we don't even really need to talk business all too much. It's very
Yeah.
much we know what we're both thinking. She taught me everything I know from the start. So if there's any opinion that I have, it's going to be her opinion.
Mhm.
Sometimes we do have different opinions on scouts and like physical stuff with like the Instagram or like a story post. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty and what an agency is all about, it's we have the exact same vision and the exact same direction. So and it's 1,000,000% going to work and going to be. And the sky's the limit for the Mother Club.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you're the head booker there.
Hmm.
You've obviously worked your way up. You started off at, was it assistant?
I started off as apprentice.
Apprentice, that
Yeah,
was it. And then junior and up and up and up.
yeah.
What's the new responsibilities, I guess, that you have as a head booker?
I sometimes something will come in or an issue will arise, and I'm like, this isn't my job. This isn't my job. And I'm like, oh, it actually is my job. It is my job. I need to deal with this. I'm the head booker. Let me, like, if a model's got a complaint or a client's got a complaint, I'm like, usually in my previous business, but let me just forward that on to somebody and someone else can deal with it. And I'm like, oh my God, that person is now me. I need to deal with this. And to be honest, it's not really much of a change that I had in my previous position. I'm
Mhm.
a senior agent there and I had quite a lot of responsibility. And it's the same here. It's just covering everything, really. I think it's getting model welfare is really important as the role of a head booker. Um, client responsibility, a lot of contracts. Usually, like in previous positions, I just have someone else read it through just to make sure it's okay, and then I'd sign it. But now I'm like, I've got to sign this. I've got to read it through. If it comes back and anything happens, it's on me. Obviously, the head booker role sounds very serious and sounds like I've got a lot of pressure. But I think with the team behind me and with Yasmin as my director, it's been a breeze. It's been I don't want to say easy because I don't want to wake up tomorrow with like 1,000,000 emails of like contracts and people complaining and because we haven't had any complaints yet. So I'm not gonna say easy, but it's been manageable. We've been working really hard. We work around the clock. Like it's not like we sign off at 5:30. We
Yeah.
we work a lot.
Fashion's like full of divas as well. Have you had any tricky people to work with, be it models or clients?
Clients, no. I think in high fashion, there's a lot of it's a very busy job being a casting director for Gucci or Burberry or
Mhm.
all these designers. There's a lot going on, and I'm sure speaking to agents isn't the most joyful thing in the world because there's so many agencies out there. So I think with some casting directors, it's very quick and very fast, which I'm not mad at. I sometimes don't mind just having if we get to the point and we get it done. It's the more commercial clients and e-com clients you can have a chit chat with. So there's not really any divas within clients, just some people who are very busy. Models, I think I'm very good at spotting a diva, and if there ever is going to be a diva, it's just not going to work with the agency and what we
Yeah.
represent. Um, I think a lot of the divas come from out of town. So when we have models placed in because obviously all of our agents are exclusive to us within London. most of them are exclusive to us worldwide, but we'll have them placed in different territories. But say if a model's coming from a different territory to London, I think that's where I've met a few divas in the past. Is London is it looks pretty cute online, and when people see pictures, but when they get here, they're like, "Why is it raining every single day? Why am I in a model house that room is literally like the size of a cardboard box? And why is everyone partying all night and I can't get to sleep?"
Yeah.
Which I completely understand the diva shit. But yeah, a lot of it is just from. I think if I've ever had a diva, it would be an out of town model coming in. I had one model that I picked up from the airport. This was a couple of years ago, and she didn't know me very well because at that time I worked on men's, and I picked her up and like it was raining and I drove all the way to the airport and I was really excited to meet her because we've had conversations over text and stuff, but I don't think she knew what I looked like. And then she just like sat in the back seat of my car. I was like, "I'm not a taxi. You can sit in the front. You can sit in the front seat if you want. Like it's actually fine." It's not really diva, but I think it's just like from out of town models, they're so used to it being a very solo job, an independent job, whereas they get in the taxi and they get to the job. They don't speak to anyone on set. They just do the job. They go home and do the same thing the next day. Whereas I feel like when you come to London, it's a lot more friendly. The agents check in with the models. Obviously, we don't email our models. We just WhatsApp our models or call them. It's not really like professional in the sense of, "Hello, how are you?" It's, "Hey, passing tomorrow. Here's details. Off you go. How was your weekend?" Da, da, da. Whereas I think in other territories, they're used to it being like, "Hello, da 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 da. Be at this casting. Carl will pick you up at this time. Da da da." So when they come here, they're used to that, and they meet us with the same energy, and we're like, "No, babe, we're just your friend. We're your big brother and big sister. Like it's actually a really fun time over here. It's a lot more fun over here than it is in other territories." When I've been to Paris and Milan, and I visited agencies there, and I'm like, "You lot are regimented. Like it's cutthroat. Like the agencies out there are cutthroat." I've never like spoke to a model about their weight or in that way they look, and then when I go to Paris, they're like, "No, she's too soft. She wouldn't fit." And I'm like, "Okay." They're like, we can sort out a meal plan and a fitness plan for the model to get them in shape." I'm like, "It's fine. That we're happy with them how the way they are, but over there is just like cutthroat," which makes me understand why when models come over here, they're a little bit more uptight. And obviously, it's a language barrier as well because everyone's like, especially on set life is like, do this, I'll pose here, and obviously it's not their first language, so they're like, "Oh my god!" In their head, I think I don't know what's going on, but in the outside, they might ignore the odd thing or not answer or what they're trying to work out what you're saying and reply at the same time, so it might come across rude.
Yeah.
Which must be petrifying. Like when I went to Paris, I was presenting some models to an agency and they was all speaking about the models in French. And I was like, I wish I knew what you guys were saying because I could reply and pitch the model better.
Oh, this has been so interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot from your point of view. Like I said, I've only really got the on-set experience, so it's been a bit of an eye-opener, which has been really cool. Before we finish up, what would your 3 tips be for someone who is trying to get into model booking?
I think personality is a big, big key for model booking. It's a role where you can't learn everything from a textbook. I think it takes a certain person to be a model agent. You need to be confident, you need to be a people's person, picking up the phone, having conversations, up for anything. But you also need to have a level of professionalism to be able to negotiate big money and, like I said, go through contracts. So I think personality is key. And I think how I've got so far in my career is a lot of it is down to my personality and people remembering you and wanting to work with you again. And people just wanting you in the room. Like I said, with how I got into the industry in the first place with Yaz, she obviously wanted me to work with her when I first met her. So that's what got me that position. So I think it's important to scope the scenery out when you enter a room, if you're starting an internship or if you've got interviews, scope the scenery out and kind of match the energy a little bit, but bring your own flair. That's tip number 1. Number two, I'd say just love what you do. I think if you love what you do, work doesn't feel like work. And we say this all the time at the model club. We're like, today really felt like a Friday. And I'm like, guys, we've said this yesterday, the day before that, and we're probably going to say it tomorrow. It's because we enjoy what we do. Like, it's literally a Monday, a rainy Monday. We're like, today's kind of, just say feel like a Friday to you. I feel like today's a Friday. And then we're like, we've been saying this a lot, and I think it's just because we enjoy our job, and a Friday is a really good day. So if you enjoy what you do, it's just, life is just so much easier. Like, watch America's Next Top Model to get inspired and look at beautiful campaigns. And tip number three is, I think organization is the key as well to this job. There's just so much going on. Like I said, even if you're not at a smaller agency, even when you're working for big businesses like ASOS, there's still so much going on. You have to stay organized with what you're doing, or you're simply just drown. I like to think of it as swimming and just keeping your head above water. You're sometimes here, you're sometimes like, your mouth's almost about to go down, and sometimes you're like, I'm breaststroking, I'm back crawling, I'm way above the water, I'm not gonna drown. So if you're organized and you've got everything under control, you could just swim. You can. Sometimes I feel like I'm even on a line now. I'm just riding the wave. If you're staying organized, you've got everything under control. That's my 3 tips, I'd say.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. It's literally been brilliant. So yeah, thanks again.
I've enjoyed it so much.
Thanks for listening to Get to Know. I love how Theo sees the beauty in everyone and translates that into his work. Also, who knew model bookers had to measure inseams daily? If you love this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you would rate, review and subscribe. If you want to learn more, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the Get to Know Podcast, and I'll catch you the same time next week, where I'm getting to know Alex Jordan, a freelance stylist who has worked across e-com, editorial, campaign, music videos and TV. If you're interested to learn the differences and how she managed to bag all these jobs, you won't want to miss it.